Hi friends, on my channel, lately sat an asset, your subscription, unlike it very Pomajit channel. If you like the video, do not forget to rate it. Thank you. Lena had been saving up for months to buy a motorcycle. She was tired of relying on public transportation and wanted more freedom and convenience. She scoured online marketplaces for a good deal and found one on Craigslist. A guy named Jake was selling his motorcycle for only $5,000. He claimed he was moving out of town and needed to sell the motorcycle fast. Lena contacted him and arranged to meet him in the parking lot of a coffee shop. She withdrew the money from her bank account and put it in her purse. She drove to the meeting place and waited for Jake to arrive. She checked her phone and saw that he texted her that he was running late and asked her to wait for him. She replied that it was fine and ordered a coffee. She noticed a man walking towards her from across the street. He was wearing a hoodie and a cap. He seemed familiar to her, but she couldn't recognize him. He walked up to her and smiled. "Hi, are you Lena?" he asked. "Yes, I am. And you're Jake?" she asked. "Right. Sorry I'm late. I had some problems," he said. He held out his hand, and she shook it. He seemed friendly enough, but she felt a little uncomfortable. She wondered why he wore a hoodie on a warm day. "So, where's your motorcycle?" she asked. "Over there," he pointed to the red motorcycle parked to the corner of the lot. "Can I see it?" she asked. Sure. Let's go," he said. He led her to the motorcycle. She followed him, clutching her purse. She hoped the motorcycle was in good condition and that it wasn't a scam. They reached the motorcycle and he unlocked it. "Here she is. She's in great condition. I've taken good care of her," he said. He gestured for her to sit on the motorcycle and check it out. She hesitated for a moment, but then decided to agree. She got on the motorcycle and looked around. The motorcycle was clean and looked well maintained. There were no issues with the engine or the brakes. The mileage was low for a 5-year-old motorcycle. She turned to him and smiled. "Looks good," she said. "Thanks. It's a great motorcycle. You won't regret buying it," he said. He got on the motorcycle and started the engine. "So, do you have the money?" he asked nonchalantly. She nodded and reached for her purse. "Yes, I do," she said. She opened her purse and pulled out the cash. She held it out to him. "Here," she said. He took the cash and counted it quickly. He then put the money in his pocket. "Thank you very much," he said. He smiled slyly and pulled out a gun, pointing it at her. "Now give me your purse," he demanded. Lena's heart raced as she realized what was happening. She quickly handed him her purse, hoping he would leave her alone. But he didn't. He demanded that she give him her phone and her keys too. She complied, fearing for her life. He then ordered her to get off the motorcycle and lie on the ground. He tied her hands and feet with zip ties and left her there, helpless and terrified. Lena struggled to free herself, but it was no use. She waited for what seemed like hours until a passerby found her and called the police. The police arrived quickly and searched the area. The man had already fled. Lena was shaken but relieved that she had managed to escape with her life. However, she had lost all her savings and her belongings. Officers took Cassandra's statement and checked the parking lot surveillance tapes, but the man's face was obscured by a hat and sunglasses, making it difficult to identify him. The detectives assured Cassandra that they were investigating the case and would try to find the perpetrator. Cassandra was devastated. She had lost all her hard-earned money, and her dream of buying a motorcycle was shattered. She felt foolish for trusting a stranger and not being more careful. She realized that she needed to take precautions when dealing with strangers and buying things online. Over the next few days, Cassandra tried to process the traumatic experience. She received calls from detectives who have asked her additional questions about what had happened, but there was no news on the case. Cassandra realized that she was unlikely to recover the money or find the person who had robbed her. One day, a week after the incident, Cassandra received a call from the police. They had good news for her. They had found the motorcycle that Mark had sold her. It turned out that the car had been stolen, and the person who had sold it to Cassandra was not the real owner. The police found the motorcycle and arrested the thief. Cassandra was shocked. She couldn't believe she had almost bought a stolen motorcycle. She was grateful that the police had found it, and she was relieved that she had escaped a potentially dangerous situation. She realized that things could have been much worse if she had gotten away with the stolen motorcycle. Sophie had always been fascinated by the world of literature. She loved to read, and even more than that, she loved to write. She was especially interested in writing novels, and had recently started work on her first one. She had been working on it for months, but was struggling to come up with an ending that she was happy with. She had been researching different ways to end the story, and had read about a book that contained a variety of different endings for the same story. She searched the internet for a long time, until she came across an ad on a writer's forum that offered the book for only $50. The seller claimed it was the latest edition, with a wide range of options to choose from. Sophie was intrigued by the offer and decided to contact the seller. She sent an email asking for more information and pictures of the book. He quickly responded, saying that he had bought it from a friend who owned a bookstore, but that he no longer needed it. He attached some pictures of the book, which looked like an ordinary hardback with a plain cover. He also said he could meet her at a nearby park the next day at noon. Sophie agreed to the deal and made an appointment. She withdrew $50 from her bank account and put it in her purse. She also took a pen and paper with her to take notes while she read the book. She was very excited and curious to see what the book could offer. She arrived at the park 10 minutes before noon and looked around for the salesman. She had seen his picture in his email profile, so she knew what he looked like. He was a short, stout man with a bald head and a beard. He was wearing a green jacket and jeans. She noticed him sitting on a bench and holding a paper bag in his hand. He waved and smiled at her. Sophie walked up to him and introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Sophie, and you must be Tom," she said. "Hi, Sophie. Nice to meet you," he said. "I have a book here." He opened a paper bag and pulled out a hardback book. He held it out to her and said, "Here it is, the book you wanted." Sophie took the book and examined it. It looked exactly like the pictures he had sent her. She opened it and saw that it was a thick book with over 1,000 pages. "Looks great," she said. "Can I read it here?" "Sure, go ahead," he said. Sophie sat down on the bench and opened the book. She started reading the first chapter and was quickly drawn in. The writing was beautiful, and the characters were vivid and interesting. She read for several minutes, taking notes as she went along. She was amazed at the variety of different endings that the book offered. Each one was unique and unexpected. She felt like she had found the perfect solution to her problem. She looked at Tom and said, "This is incredible. How did you get this?" He shrugged and said, "Like I said, I got it from a friend who owns a bookstore." He said it was a limited edition with a lot of different endings. "Wow," she said, "that's amazing." She decided to buy the book without any hesitation. She reached into her purse and pulled out $50 in cash. "Here you go," she said, holding out the money to him. He took the money and quickly counted it. "Thank you," he said. He put the money in his pocket and stood up. "Well, I guess this is goodbye then," he said. He held out his hand for a handshake. Sophie shook his hand and said, "Thank you for selling me this." He pulled out a knife and told her to give him all the money. She was shocked and started to run away. The man quickly caught up with her and started beating her. When she lost consciousness, he took her belongings and fled. She lay like that for about half an hour. A passing driver noticed her and called the police and an ambulance. She was taken to the hospital and received emergency treatment. She later gave a statement to the police. They took Linda's statement and checked the surveillance cameras in the area, but the thief was too fast and had covered his face. Linda was disappointed and angry that she had been fooled and robbed, but she was also grateful that she wasn't hurt badly. After a few days, Linda went to the police station to follow up on the case. The detective in charge of the investigation told her that they hadn't found any leads yet, but they were still working on it. Linda decided to let it go and move on from the incident. She also learned a valuable lesson about being careful and not trusting strangers, especially when buying expensive items. She was lucky that she didn't get hurt and that she only lost her money and some personal items. From that day on, Linda became more cautious and diligent in her online transactions. She only dealt with reputable sellers and made sure to verify their identities and products before buying anything. She also shared her story with her friends and family to warn them about the dangers of online scams and theft. In 2016 in New York City, a young man named Jake was preparing to move to a new apartment. He had packed his belongings in boxes and bags, and he had rented a truck to transport them. He had also hired 2 movers through Craigslist to help him load and unload the truck. They had agreed on a price of $200 for the job. Jake was waiting for the movers to arrive at his old apartment. He checked his phone and saw that they were running late. He sent them a text message asking where they were. He got a reply saying that they were stuck in traffic and would be there soon. Jake sighed and looked around his apartment. He felt a mix of nostalgia and excitement. He had lived there for 3 years, and he had many memories there. But he was also looking forward to starting a new chapter in his life. He had found a better job, and he had met a wonderful girl named Lisa. They had been dating for 6 months, and they had decided to move in together. Jake was happy and hopeful about his future. He heard a knock on the door. He opened it and saw 2 men standing outside. They were wearing jeans and t-shirts, and they had tattoos on their arms. They looked rough and shady. "Hi, are you Jake?" one of them asked. "Yes, I am." "Are you the movers?" "That's right. We're here to help you move." "Great. Come on in." Jake let them in and showed them his stuff. The movers nodded and said that it would be easy to load everything into the truck. "Oh, let's get started then," Jake said. He picked up a box and carried it to the truck. The movers followed him with their own boxes. They worked for about an hour, loading the truck with Jake's belongings. When they were done, Jake locked the truck and went back to his apartment. He thanked the movers and reached for his wallet. "Here you go," he said, handing them $200. The movers looked at the money and frowned. "What's this?" one of them asked. "It's your payment. We agreed on $200, remember?" The movers shook their heads. No. That was just for loading the truck. You have to pay us another $200 for unloading it." "What? That's ridiculous. You never mentioned anything about that." "Yes, we did. It's in the contract." "What contract?" "We didn't sign any contract." The movers pulled out a piece of paper from their pocket. "Here it is," one of them said, showing it to Jake. Jake looked at the paper and saw that it was a fake contract with some fine print at the bottom. It said that the movers could charge extra fees for any reason they wanted. "This is a scam," Jake said angrily. "No, it's not. It's a legitimate contract. You have to pay us or we won't unload your stuff." Jake felt a surge of panic. He couldn't afford to lose his stuff. He had worked hard to buy them, and some of them were irreplaceable. "Look, this is not fair," he said. "You can't do this to me." "Yes, we can," one of the movers said, grabbing Jake by the collar. He pushed him against the wall and punched him in the face. Jake stumbled back dazed. The other mover joined in, and they both started to beat him up. Jake tried to defend himself, but he was outnumbered and overpowered. The movers finally stopped and took his phone. They threatened him not to call the police, or they would come back for him. Jake was left bruised and shaken. He managed to stumble to his neighbor's apartment and asked for help. They called the police and Jake reported the incident. The police searched for the movers, but they were nowhere to be found. Jake realized that he had been scammed and assaulted, and he felt violated and angry. He learned a hard lesson about the importance of reading contracts carefully and doing background checks on service providers. He also made a vow to himself never to let anyone take advantage of him again.